Hi students, so in this part we are going to discuss about the means of transport in cell. So let's have a look at all the means of transport that are found in plant cells. Transport in plants. We are now going to discuss about the means of transport in cell. So let's see the methods of transport. There are three methods of transport of minerals across the cells. These are diffusion, facilitated diffusion and active transport. These two come under passive transport. So we are having two types of transports, passive transport and active transport. So both the diffusion come under passive transport. Next is diffusion, the movement of molecules or atoms or ions of materials from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration is called diffusion. So diffusion is from the high concentration to the low concentration. Okay, so the molecules, the atoms, the ions, whatever it is, they are moving from an area where they are larger in numbers to an area where they are smaller in numbers, so as to maintain an equilibrium. You can see here in this diagram, outside the cell the concentration of ions is more. Inside the cell, the concentration of ions is less. So the movement will be from higher concentration to the lower concentration. Diffusion continues till dynamic equilibrium is not established. So it will keep on diffusing. The ions, the molecules, everything will keep on diffusing from higher concentration to lower concentration until an equilibrium is achieved. At this stage, the net movement of molecules is equal in both the directions. When the equilibrium is achieved, at that time, because both the sides are having equal number of molecules, so the net movement will be same. There will be no difference in the net movement. It may occur between gas and gas. Example, diffusion of ammonia into air. Liquid and liquid. Example, diffusion of alcohol into water. Or solid and liquid. Example, diffusion of sugar into water. So when it comes about the gas, ammonia is a gas. Into the air, air is also a gas. Liquid and liquid, alcohol is a liquid and water is a liquid. Solid and liquid, sugar is a solid and water is a liquid. From soil, water and ions of simple inorganic source pass into plants through the root cells. Okay, so from through the root cells, these water and ions are passing by a process basically known as diffusion. This diffusion is supported by other processes, other factors as well. But the main mode of transport, the main method of transport is diffusion. Now, here is a video. Let me demonstrate you with the help of a video that how the process of diffusion takes place in cells. So here is a beaker. Let's begin with the video. Molecules dissolved in a solution are in constant random motion, okay, due to kinetic energy. One result of this motion is that dissolved molecules become evenly distributed throughout the solution. This tendency of molecules to spread out, okay, is an example of diffusion. Let's take an example of a sugar cube, solid sugar cube. You can see the particles of the sugar molecule are in random motion in the lump itself. Okay, so the sugar is dipped, okay, and you can see it's starting. The molecules are starting to move from the higher concentration towards the area where they are having the lower concentration. And now you can see area of higher concentration to area of lower concentration, the sugar molecules have started to spread out in this complete solution. Okay, and diffusion continues until the sugar molecules become evenly dispersed in the solution. The rate of diffusion is affected by various factors like temperature, size of the molecules, and the steepness of the concentration gradient. You can see here all the molecules are now evenly distributed inside the solution. So this is how diffusion was taking place. Now moving on to the facilitated diffusion. It is diffusion along the concentration gradient through specific sites, okay, present in the cell membranes without the cells spending any energy. Both the diffusions are passive transport. In passive transport, we are not having any expenditure of energy. Okay, in active transport, it's called active only because we have to spend some amount of energy to let that process happen. Rate of diffusion depends on the size of substances. How? The smaller substances diffuse faster. That's a common sense. If you think, if a sieve is there and you are trying to drain some water from there, and you can see the smaller particles will move faster. Lipid soluble substances diffuse faster. How? That I'll explain you in one of my videos. Now, active transport, it uses energy to pump molecules. Okay, energy is used against a concentration gradient. Molecules are being pumped against a concentration gradient using energy. It is carried out by membrane bound proteins. So we are using membrane bound proteins. These proteins help in carrying out those ions in molecules. Okay, here is a video again. In this video we will be discussing about this complete process. Let's see. Outside of the cell, sodium potassium pump is there. Okay, and you can see sodium molecules are coming and getting attached over the sites, binding to the channel, and an ATP provides its energy to change the shape of the channel, that in turn drives the ions through the channel. One phosphate group from ATP remains bind with the channel. The sodium ions released on the other side of the membrane outside of the cell, and the new shape of the channel has a high affinity to potassium ions. You can see here, and two of these ions now bind to the channel. This binding again causes a change in the shape of the protein channel, and this conformational change releases the phosphate. Okay, and this release allows the channel to revert to its original shape, and as a result the potassium ions are released inside the cell, and the sodium are again coming, attaching, and the potassium phosphate group is again coming over there. Size is changing, sodium ions are going outside, and again potassium ions are coming, they are getting attached. Phosphate will also go inside the cell, and the potassium ions will also go inside the cell. So this is how from higher concentration to the lower concentration, the ions will keep on moving. So this is an active transport. Why? Because it's involving the use of ATP energy. Okay, so this was all about the means of transport in cell. We have learnt about diffusion, facilitated diffusion, and active transport. Diffusion and facilitated diffusion fall under the category passive transport. So using these two modes of transport, water, minerals, and ions are being transported from roots to the leaves in the plants.